Hello, fellow cyborgs, and welcome to another Persephone book review. Today I'm going to be talking about Still Missing by Beth Gutchian, first published in 1981. This is Persephone's 88th publication, and the end papers look like this. It is a knitted ribbed fabric with gold sparklies and brown. It's got a really long name, really technical about the precise make. I think it's rayon and polyester or something, but there you go. Knitted fabric. But first, book haiku. My son is missing. Won't you help me? Won't you believe me? He's still lost. So this story is sort of a crime novel, but from the perspective of the parents whose son has just gone missing. It starts off with Alex, 6-year-old, walking himself to school, just a 2-block walk to his elementary school, and his mom going off on her day, going to work, nothing out of the ordinary, coming home and waiting for him to arrive, and waiting for him to arrive, and waiting for him to arrive. Susan finally calls a neighbor and asks her if Alex happens to be at her house. Jocelyn, the neighbor, asks her daughter if she's seen Alex, and Justine, the daughter, tells her mom that Alex was not in school today at all. So from there, the book, told from Susan's perspective mostly, becomes a psychological discussion about what goes through the mind of a parent whose child is lost. Are they dead? Are they still alive? They're dead and still alive. How does it feel to have police people camped out in your living room? How does it feel when they finally go away, when people have stopped looking for your child? I overall really enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was really easy to get through, had really interesting investigations into Susan's psychology. I was a psychology major in college. I found that fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I also did a couple classes dealing with criminal behavior, and so the whole theme surrounding this book really interested me, hence me picking it up. I did have some major problems with this. The things I had a problem with were the depictions, the really stereotyped, prejudiced depictions of gay men and Romani people. The stereotyped depiction of Romani people only happened once, but it was enough for me to go, ugh. But the prejudices against gay men kind of pervaded throughout the book and becomes a big theme in this book as well. I remember early on in the book, the detective mentioned something like, oh, over at such and such a neighborhood, that's where a lot of the gay men hang out, and your son's really pretty, so since we haven't found him yet, I kind of hope he's dead. Insinuating that all gay men are interested in raping pretty little boys, and actually, as you and I probably both know, the statistics support that heterosexual men are the ones most likely to be pedophiles and child molesters, rather than homosexual anyone. So I had a hard time deciding whether or not the author was writing this because it was in the mindset at the times. The 80s and 90s were not popular times for homosexual peoples. Today it's getting a bit better, still not 100%, but the 80s and 90s were really bad. So is it that it was just historical and it was in there because that is what people would have been thinking at this time, what those characters would have been thinking in Boston at that time? Or is that what the author thought at the time? I mean, the author's perfectly able to change her opinion as things become less taboo, but the idea that the author really believed what she was writing really, really bothered me. There were also 3 instances of sex in this book, 2 of which were with heterosexual couples and 1 with a homosexual couple, and the only scene that was really graphic and explicit was between the homosexual couple. And so I questioned why that was. And that's not just in this book. I've noticed that in other crime novels as well, is that we don't get an explicit sexual encounter with the main protagonist, the detective, or in this case, the mother, but we get an explicit scene with the bad guy or a side character or something. And I don't know if that is a technique to delineate romance and crime novels from just romance in romance novels, or if it's a way to ostracize the other people, the bad guy, or in this case, the minority group, and make them even more other because, hey, we get to look at their explicit graphic sex scene and be maybe a little creeped out, but the wholesome heterosexual couples, they get to do it privately. So I don't know, but that was definitely another thing that I found treated homosexuals different than the heterosexuals in this book. And since I'm a big gay rights ally, I was uncomfortable with that juxtaposition. As I said, I don't know precisely why it was there, but it was. And that was the only problem I had with it. I'm not going to get into any more specifics. I don't want to spoil this book for you. Certainly don't want to spoil the ending for you. And like I said, even though I had those big problems with it, I still gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. After I got about halfway through this book, I just flew through it. Sat down to read for maybe half an hour, and then 70 pages later, an hour and a half later or something, I was still reading and still enjoying it. So this was a very compelling read. It was written really well. It captured the psychology of a parent grieving a child who is lost, not yet dead, maybe. I don't know how it compares to some of the other Persephone titles, but it interested me that this is a book that has never gone out of print. It's been continuously really popular, and I believe it's also been translated into a bunch of different languages. So this isn't quite a book written by a woman that's been forgotten by time or underappreciated by time, so I'm kind of curious as to why Persephone picked it up and decided to publish it. I'm glad they did though, because it was a really engaging read, had some really lovely passages in it, and I really enjoyed myself. And that concludes my review of the Persephone book, Still Missing. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me in the comments down below your favorite cop drama TV show to watch, if in fact you do watch any. Mine would probably be Criminal Minds. As always, thank you for watching and spending this time with me, and until next time, continue to be lovely.